So if I'm driving a truck or an engine and we get to a fire, and we get there first or maybe second, and there's something that needs to be done with the apparatus specifically, then I'll take care of that if I'm the driver, whether it's pumping the water, putting the aerial up, something like that. If not, if we arrive a little bit later in the game to where the apparatus isn't really needed, we'll park the rig and then I just become a firefighter like everybody else and go in and do whatever needs to get done. At the time I was living in San Diego, and I took the test in 2002 probably, and eventually got a call at the end of fire season down there in 2002 from somebody at headquarters saying, hey, you have an interview on Monday. I think it was a Thursday or Friday at the time. And she also said, and I hope your sign language skills are good or up to par. And so I said, okay, great. So got up here on that Monday for my interview, and about half of the questions in my chief's oral interview were in sign language from an interpreter that was there.
Okay.
Captain Mark Harvey, he's an actual interpreter, he's very good at sign language. So he was on the interview panel along with, at the time, the fire chief and the operations chief. And so I had to conduct, like I said, about half of the interview in sign language just with the interpreter.
Right.
And the two fire chiefs were sitting there. They had no idea what we were talking about because there's no talking or anything, and just signing back and forth.
Yeah.
And so that was part of how I got hired here, was having some, I've never claimed to be bilingual, but I had some sign language skills that I could use in case I needed to. I originally took it, it was my senior year, and I had taken 4 years of Spanish. Not that I'm any good at Spanish either, but and there weren't enough people to sign up for Spanish 5, and that was the first year they offered ASL, so I thought, why not? Yeah. And it turned out to be a really neat class. Just learning about not only the sign language but the deaf culture, just things about the deaf community. So that was really neat, and that's why I continued in college, because it was something that kind of it interested me at that point.
Yeah.
And then since then, I've actually had a deaf niece, or I do have a deaf niece and a deaf nephew, who are far beyond me in their sign language skills already. But it's fun to be able to try to, to communicate with them using sign, and then my kids trying to learn sign language, things like that. It's kind of rare, as you'd assume. There's actually a relatively larger than I expected anyways, deaf community in Fresno. And so throughout my almost 13 years here, I've used it, a dozen, 15, 20 times, something like that.
Okay.
People that know that I can sign a little bit, if they come into a situation where they have a deaf person that needs some assistance, or they just really, it's either they need assistance or just need help with something, or it's an emergency, then they'll give me a call if I'm on duty, and if we can make it over there, then we'll go ahead and head over there and help. The one that sticks out in my mind was up in Station 11's district, actually by the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Services Center. We got a call for chest pain, and there were no details, so we just kind of approached it like a normal call. And we got there, I believe the lights were off in the house, knocked on the door, no answer. So we opened the door, it was unlocked, shouted, fire department, and didn't hear anything. So got our flashlights on, just kind of slowly walking in, because you never really know what you're gonna find.
Yeah.
And I heard somebody typing, and walking around and still hear them typing, we're still shouting fire department. And then I started to put two and two together. Okay, well maybe this person's deaf and they're using their TTY, use like a keyboard, and they're communicating with somebody, so basically dispatch, telling them the situation, they've got chest pain, please send help.
Okay.
And so I kind of got next to the room where I thought I heard the typing coming from, and I shined my flashlight, and I heard kind of like a gasp, like we startled this person. And sure enough, she was sitting there typing on her TTY, and and we snuck up on her because she couldn't hear us, and she was deaf, and I was able to run that whole call in sign language, medical history, the chief complaint, you know, getting it all taken care of. And again, at that point, she was relieved to, you know, be able to communicate with somebody without there being that huge barrier. But yeah, that one was nice. It made me feel, you know, like I did something good. Oh yeah, they're way better than I am, and they're she's 7 and I think 5. And they're just really fast at signing it. They know also, you know, who can sign in the family and who has a little bit of trouble, so they'll sign quicker with the ones who know a little bit more and slower with the ones who don't know quite as much.